if you haven't moved here yet, I hope you move here.
Glad to see someone likes immigration.
And I want to make sure you're all aware of President Biden's new slogan. Open borders and close schools.
All right, never mind.
Many people are saying that my job is to mediate between warring factions on the right and mediate the war words between the party leaders. Doesn't sound like much fun. Well, I've got some news for you. I'm not going to mediate anything. Instead, I'm going to fight for our conservative values. I'm going to do it boldly, and I'm not going to apologize to anyone for what we believe in.
Here he just repeats what he just said again.
Why do we do it? Because it's good for every American family. I will spend every day talking about how Democrats are an absolute mortal threat to our freedom, to our prosperity, to our way of life, to our families, and the future of the United States of America. We are going to go right at these radical left-wing fanatics every second.
Notice how deliberately vague he's being.
And we're going to expose them for exactly what they are. We're not going to stand down, and we're never, ever going to retreat.
Oh, I thought you were gonna tell us what we are.
Let me make sure there are three things that are abundantly clear right up front. First, both of the impeachments of President Trump were nothing more than unserious political vendettas and political theater.
Right, it was a perfect speech and a perfect phone call.
This last charade should have been conducted at the other end of Washington at the Kennedy Center instead of the U.S. Capitol. It was a waste of time and money and was all about politics.
You just know someone's an idiot when they use all about politics as an argument.
Second, President Trump did something that has never been done in our lifetime. He stood up to all of establishment Washington and said no.
Then he proceeded to nominate establishment warhawks like Mike Pompeo and Wall Street lackeys like Steve Mnuchin.
No, I will not accept business as usual. No, I will not allow any bad trade deals that favor communist China and hurt American workers.
Emphasis on communist, as if China's actually left-wing.
No, I will not cozy up to Iran or back down from supporting Israel.
Wait, these are very establishment positions. You can just tell the audience has no fucking clue about foreign policy.
No, I will not support unnecessary foreign wars or giveaways of American treasure or lives.
Which is why he increased drone strikes, bombed Iran, and did arms deals with Saudi Arabia.
No, I will not stop pushing for secure borders.
Yeah, the 40 miles of wall he built was impressive.
And no, I will not accept your political correctness.
No, I'm politically incorrect. You're fucking racist.
Or the push to silence conservative voices in America. Now, of course, President Trump has flaws, I have flaws, we all have flaws. I've known him for many years. By the way, you can make sure when he speaks, or he'll probably call me tomorrow and he'll say, "Nice speech, Rick, except for that part about that he had flaws." You know that's going to happen. But look, it was high time for someone to go to Washington and say no. And I'm thankful and glad that President Trump had the guts to do it.
You're especially thankful because in terms of policy, he's actually barely any different from any old establishment Republican.
Third, the Democrats control all the levers of power in Washington. And the new left no longer believes in any tolerance.
No, they tolerate diversity, they just don't tolerate intolerance.
In the promise of America, that our nation was exceptional, or in the American dream.
Yeah, because it's statistically proven that the American dream doesn't exist.
It's time for all of us to wake up to reality.
Well, there goes gravity.
They want to silence you.
No, I don't.
If they can silence a former president, what makes you think you're not next?
Wait, the tech corporations silenced him.
They want to take away your freedom of speech? They want to take away your religious liberty?
No, you just think belief in fairy tales makes you exempt from the law.
They want to take away your right to bear arms?
I do, but not most people.
They want to get you fired from your job? They want to get your bank to drop you? They want to make you unemployable in the future? And you know what? They've got a lot of friends in corporate America. They're absolutely willing to help them.
Yes, the progressive left is friends with corporations.
They don't simply want you to silence conservatives. They want to destroy us. And yet, in the face of this mortal threat to our nation, our very existence, some prefer to fan the flames of a civil war on our side. That's foolish and it's ridiculous. We have absolutely serious work to get done. We don't have time for that. Let's be honest. The Washington establishment breathed a sigh of relief when President Trump left town.
Not because they dislike Trump, they just know he's an electoral liability.
There are plenty of people in Washington who are hoping that we can go back to regular order. Go back to where the Republican Party used to be. They want to retreat to a safe space.
Saying the same thing multiple times.
We will not win the future by trying to go back to where the Republican Party used to be. If we do, we will lose the working base that President Trump so animated. We're going to lose elections across the country, and ultimately we're going to lose our nation.
Sounds pog to me.
We're not going to let that happen. Now let me paint you a picture of where our adversaries want to take this country. Let me describe for you what the price of failure is. If we fail, our children will learn that throwing a brick through a shopkeeper's window and looting the store, well, that's a mostly peaceful protest.
This is a Ben Shapiro level straw man.
Let's tell our kids it's actually the right thing to do because of the terrible oppression in this racist country.
I mean, this country is pretty racist.
If we fail, how many selfless police officers are still going to be around to protect us and put their lives on the line once we've demeaned and defunded them?
There will be plenty because the non-dangerous work will just be done with social workers instead.
If we fail, our armed forces, they're going to use the politically correct pronouns that Pelosi asked them to do. But our military is going to cower in the shadow of communist China.
Holy fuck, we already have nukes. Nobody's gonna invade us.
Communist President Xi, he said he hopes for a win-win. Oh, there's going to be a win-win. Hunter Biden's going to win and get richer.
Why do they keep slandering a private citizen?
And as Communist China wins, it becomes the most powerful country in the world.
That's gonna happen no matter what. Their population's just bigger.
If we fail to lead our country into the future, Democrats will lead us into the past, eroding our economy and our culture.
Wait, I thought returning to the culture of the past was a conservative thing.
And we will become another decaying example of socialism.
You don't know what socialism
Let me
means.
say that again. If we fail to lead our country into the future, Democrats will lead America into the past. They'll ditch capitalism.
Sounds pog.
Even though capitalism has lifted more people from poverty to prosperity than any idea in American history.
That's simply not true. For one, the agricultural revolution is the foundation for all of this. Next is industrialization, and though that happened first with capitalism, China and Russia industrialized so much faster, and in fact, most of the reduction in global poverty the past few decades has been in China, which is communist, according to you.
Calling someone a capitalist will become an insult.
It already
In
is.
fact, it already is on some college campuses. But don't worry, in their phony, Washington-run utopia, Chuck Schumer will tell you what kind of work you're allowed to do.
Huh?
AOC will tell you how you're allowed to do it.
What?
Nancy Pelosi will tell you how much you'll be paid for it.
What?
And Kamala Harris will tell you how little you're allowed to keep after you pay your, quote, fair share.
Probably more, given the fact these are the guys who are trying to raise the minimum wage.
In a socialist system, politically incorrect thought can't be tolerated.
Socialism is an economic system. That has nothing to do with speech.
Because truth can't be tolerated. So don't think out loud. Don't suppose you have freedom to worship or that the churches they closed down during the coronavirus are essential.
Yeah, believing in fairy tales is not essential.
Don't complain about men, women, women's sports.
Well, I'm glad that's not happening.
Don't think you have the right to bear arms. Like socialist dictators.
Socialism is the control of the means of production by the working class. A socialist dictator is an oxymoron.
Our adversaries will confiscate your weapons.
Actually, many socialists, being revolutionaries, are very pro-gun.
If any of this sounds impossible to you, you've got to wake up. This stuff's already happening. I had a reporter the other day ask me a typically uninformed question. He said, do I believe that in order to appeal to more voters, we need to moderate our values or compromise on some of our principles? My response, hell no.
God, I wish Joe Biden would say that.
Just the opposite. I believe we need to start acting like we really believe our principles. America, with all of our shortcomings, is the greatest country in the world.
In what way? Military power? Prison population total and per capita? Self-aggrandizement?
America is, in fact, not racist.
Yeah, but many of the systems and people in America are very racist.
We need to stand up and say, our fundamental principles are not only right and true, they are the only ideas that work.
For all their talk about freedom of speech and diversity of ideas, they certainly don't actually care about any of it, do they?
We choose our children's education.
Not if you teach them bullshit like creationism.
We respect our law enforcement.
Oh, so now you're willing to submit to an authority.
We thank God every day for our freedom.
What happened to the only ideals?
They are the only ideas that work. We thank God every day. Only ideas. Thank God.
Holy fuck, this is borderline support for theocracy. For someone who criticizes the left's supposed conformity, he sure doesn't tolerate much intellectual diversity now, does he?
The American family is an idea that works.
No, it doesn't. Have you seen what's happening to our boys? They're all depressed and have no friends. Children are supposed to be raised in a community, and the nuclearization of our family is hurting boys the most.
We believe family should be the center of our lives and is crucial to civilization.
Yeah, this is just a homophobic and transphobic dog whistle.
Religious liberty is an idea that works.
Separation of church and state works even better.
But Democrat mayors and governors say you can protest, but you can't go to church.
Because they're outside wearing masks and you're inside not wearing masks and super spreading.
Our flag, that's an idea that works.
The fuck is that supposed to mean?
If we all respect it.
Holy fuck, I don't care about your anecdotes. Stop crying over a piece of cloth.
Why is our nation so divided? Well, our unique individual differences as human beings become divisions without our flag, our national anthem, and our unique American identity.
Or we can organize under lines that are less arbitrary and more substantive, like class, instead of being a bunch of submissive slaves only there to keep the status quo.
Our nation's founders were brilliant men who designed a system that works.
In fact, it's worked so well we had to amend it 27 times.
It's the best system of governance in world history.
Please tell me that's a fucking joke. Everybody in the world thinks America's electoral college system is pointless.
And the memories of the men who built it must be honored, and we'll never allow our history to be erased.
What a bunch of cucks, worshipping long-dead slaveholders who would have no idea how to navigate in today's society.
We believe strong borders work.
The empirical data suggests otherwise.
Individual responsibility works.
Yeah, if you just work hard, you can become a billionaire. There's absolutely no reason to question this system in which 80% of people live paycheck to paycheck.
We believe our children have the right to be born.
How fucking stupid do you have to be to ascribe value to something that doesn't even exist yet? If we kept having more and more children because we thought it was our ethical responsibility, the world would go to shit.
And go to the school of their choice.
Not fucking possible. You think poor kids have the resources to drive 20 miles to go to the school that's good? Local schools have to have adequate resources.
School choice works. Lower taxes work.
What? Have you seen the national
The
debt?
Second Amendment works.
Yeah, it works at getting a bunch of people needlessly killed and making it easier for thousands more people to commit suicide.
Funding our police works.
The data suggests otherwise.
Capitalism works.
Well, yeah, it works for you. You're funded by billionaires.
Standing up to communist China dictators, buying American, and shutting the door to communist Chinese products, you better believe that works.
Actually, economists almost universally agree that our trade war with China has hurt both countries.
We believe that freedom, not socialism,
You don't know what socialism
is
means.
always a new idea.
How stupid do you have to be to take anything this guy says seriously? Freedom is always a new idea, yet you're never going to use those ideas to question your nation, your current beliefs, or those systems of power?
These are our principles, and we will never compromise or moderate them to appease anyone. We care too much about each of our families and our countries to compromise or appease. These principles can and will lead us to a majority coalition in America. Are we perfect? No, but we are free to repair our faults. And the conservative principles that beat in our hearts are the only ones that actually lift people to better lives and build a great and compassionate nation.
Yes, a compassionate nation of cutting welfare and giving the power to the wealthy.
But the left's so-called progressive ideology, that old broken down idea called socialism, has not only never worked,
Oh, no, it's the Vuvuzela argument.
it has destroyed more countries, families, and lives than we can count.
Capitalism has killed far more people than socialism ever could. Imperialist nations conquering other countries to steal their resources, enslaving their native populations, unregulated workplaces where people are sent to die, the withholding of essential resources like food, water, shelter, and healthcare just to make a quick buck, the for-profit prison system that deprives people of their human rights for money. We have capitalism to answer for all of that.
Venezuelan children are starving today. That's socialism.
No, that was fiscal irresponsibility combined with an over-reliance on natural resources like oil, kind of like the United States.
Refugees are risking their lives today to flee Cuba's squalid hospitals, rationed food, and relentless oppression.
And despite trade embargoes and sanctions, Cuba still somehow manages to have a higher life expectancy than America.
That's socialism. Communist China is jailing and murdering its own citizens today because they've spoken the truth about the Wuhan virus. That's socialism.
No, it's not. Socialism is an economic system.
Let me leave you with this. We have generations of young people who have effectively been brainwashed by the liberals who have captured our education system.
No, you just hate scholars, science, and intellectuals because they always oppose what you believe in.
They're now attempting to capture the boardroom of every corporation and even our military leadership.
But the corporations can do whatever they want. You support free markets, right?
Many of these young people were not taught our real history in middle school, high school, or college.
Yeah, because our textbooks are made by conservatives in Texas.
They think socialism is a cool new idea. Think about that. The most disastrous and discredited idea of the 20th century.
No, they call that fascism.
An idea that always leads to poverty and oppression.
Citation
They
needed.
think it's as new as the iPhone 12. It's now on each of us to explain why the Democrats' old socialist plans are a coming disaster. We've got to explain why globalist socialism is destined to fail even more spectacularly in today's fast-moving world than it has in the past.
You haven't outlined any single socialist policy or explained how it doesn't work. In fact, you don't even know what socialism is. How could you provide an actually intelligent critique of it?
That is what I'm going to fight for. That is what I'm asking you to fight for. Our battle to win the future starts today. In Washington, they're doing the opposite, looking backward and forming a circular firing squad. They are busy assigning blame and avoiding responsibility.
Yeah, no, I don't take responsibility at all.
You and I don't have the time to waste going backwards. The people in Washington have that covered. All we've got is us, the power of our ideals, and the truth. And that is plenty.
See, conservatives just hate introspection. They hate looking at what's wrong with themselves or the current system or their nation. And that's why they're always ineffectual.
Now it's time to get to work, making this great country better than it has ever been. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless this great nation. Have a great day.
God doesn't exist.